Number 9. SHANNA Fernandez. Microsoft executive Jared Bridegan was driving on a wooded road in Jacksonville Beach, Florida in early 2022 when he came upon a tire in the middle of the road. When he got out to move it, someone shot him multiple times. Suspicion automatically turned to his ex-wife, SHANNA Fernandez. Although the divorce was official 7 years before the shooting, the former couple's battles over money, infidelity, and custody of their 9-year-old twins were never ending. They were still fighting over these matters when Bridegan was murdered. SHANNA denied cheating on her ex-husband, claiming that she waited until they were separated to move on, but her former personal trainer came forward and admitted that the pair had an affair, and some suspect that it began before Fernandez and Bridegan parted ways. Throughout the bitter years-long feud that followed after the divorce became final in 2015, Bridegan had accused Fernandez of spying on him by hiding baby monitors in their kids' bedrooms and of placing a tracking device on his car. Bridegan reportedly did his own fair share of snooping as well. According to one source, he found explicit text messages between Fernandez and the personal trainer she was seeing on the side. Bridegan's murder remains unsolved, and no arrests have been made in connection with this truly puzzling case. Number 8. Ali Abulaban. Better known to his TikTok followers as Jin Kid, social media personality Ali Nasser Abulaban drew widespread attention for something other than his content in 2021, when he was accused of murdering his wife and her friend. Police were called to the 29-year-old's 35th floor luxury apartment in San Diego, where they found the bodies of 28-year-old Anna Abulaban and 29-year-old Rayburn Cardenas Barron. Both victims had been shot. Later that day, officers pulled Abulaban over on a highway that he was traveling on with his 5-year-old daughter in the back seat. They charged him with several crimes, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. An investigation found that Anna had moved on from the marriage long before the shooting, in the words of Deputy District Attorney Taryn Brast. Prosecutors are accusing Abulaban of murdering Anna because he thought she was cheating on him with the other victim. The couple had reportedly separated months earlier, but Abulaban allegedly couldn't let go and kept trying to reconcile. They had a troubling history of domestic disputes. In one instance, Anna knocked on a neighbor's door and asked him to dial 911, saying that Abulaban had hit her and taken her phone. This was just one of the several times that the police were called to the residence in the month leading up to the shooting. If convicted, Abulaban could face the death penalty. His trial is scheduled for September 2022. Number 7. Suspicious wife spies from car trunk. A man named Chris Astudillo was riding in an Uber one day in 2019 in Mexico City when he suddenly heard a strange noise coming from the trunk. The driver apparently heard it too and stopped to investigate. Inside the trunk, he found his wife curled up with the couple's young child. She had apparently suspected him of being up to no good and had decided to spy on him during his Uber shift. When the driver yelled at his wife for her outrageous behavior, she began crying, according to Astudillo, who shared photos of the incident in a Facebook post that went viral. In the images captured after the wife got caught spying, she can be seen in the front passenger seat holding the child in her lap. While some commenters found the post funny, others were outraged that the woman seemed to care more about keeping an eye on her husband than their child's safety. And it can also be said that anyone who feels the need to go this far to see if their partner is cheating probably already has enough reasons to end the relationship and should perhaps just consider moving on without going out of their way to find proof. Number 6. Tiffany Riggle. In early 2022, TMZ reported that actor and comedian Bob Riggle was suing his estranged wife for secretly conducting surveillance on him. The couple's marriage was strained, but they wanted to try saving it, so Rob and his wife Tiffany tried a technique called nesting. It involves a couple living in separate homes while taking turns living with their children in the family home. But things apparently didn't work out, and Tiffany filed for divorce. Not long after that, Rob noticed a large amount of cash missing from a lockbox in his home office. He also thought it was strange how Tiffany always seemed to know where he was and knew a lot of his private information, like the details of his text messages. Rob accused his estranged wife of stealing the cash and downloading his phone content through his Apple account. She denied the allegations. Suspecting that Tiffany had planted a listening device in the home, Rob and his current partner purposely discussed something that wasn't true to see if his ex would leak it. Court documents allege that he found the device hidden in a smoke alarm, along with some 10,000 photos that had been captured over the previous 7 months. Rob is seeking damages, along with an order for Tiffany to turn over all images and recordings she may have. Number 5. Heather Bamford. During a visit with his daughter at his Hackettstown, New Jersey home in 2019, Dominic Bamford noticed that the little girl had brought over a plush Minnie Mouse toy. He pressed on the stuffed animal's stomach, expecting it to talk. Instead, he heard a recording of his daughter's voice, as well as his own, and realized that there was a listening device inside the toy. Dominic contacted the police, and his ex-wife Heather Bamford was charged with harassment and a wiretapping-related offense. She was accused of bugging the stuffed animal as a way to spy on her former partner. Police declined to reveal how long the spying had been going on, and it's unclear what ultimately came of the case. The incident bears striking similarities to an earlier instance of someone spying on their ex-spouse that happened in 2009 in Omaha, Nebraska. Diana DeVingzo allegedly spied on her ex-husband for months using a recording device that had been sewn into their daughter's teddy bear. At the time, the former couple were entangled in a contentious child custody dispute. The husband never realized he was being monitored. It wasn't until the woman tried to use the recordings in court that he learned of the invasive scheme. DeVingzo's plot wasn't as clever as she thought. The judge threw the recordings out after determining that they were obtained illegally and ordered her to pay $120,000 to her ex for spying on him. Number 4. Zebo Burgess. When 31-year-old Zebo Burgess began suspecting his estranged partner of seeing someone else in 2022, he embarked on an obsessive and rage-filled stalking and surveillance campaign against a woman. It started with a bombardment of phone calls and messages, and soon escalated into more alarming behavior. The Lancashire Telegraph reported that on one occasion Burgess showed up at the woman's home in the English town of Burnley and deliberately rode his bike into her, ramming her stomach with the handlebars. He then grabbed her by the throat and pinned her to the hood of her car. The victim managed to drive off, leaving him in front of her home. She returned to find her fence knocked over and some of her astroturf ripped out of place and thrown around. Because the woman lived nearby, it was easy for Burgess to spy on her. He allegedly took full advantage of the opportunity and used his drone to keep tabs on his former lover, which would explain why he seemed to have a knack for knowing when she was at home or just arriving home. Burgess allegedly threatened the victim with violence numerous times. In one particularly disturbing phone call, he said he was going to burn her house down and cut her up into pieces. He pleaded guilty to stalking involving the fear of violence. His attorney, Richard Prue, said that the couple dated for around 7 years and that they had been discussing the possibility of getting back together when Burgess began to suspect her of seeing someone else. Prue claims that his client has come to accept that the relationship is over. Number 3. Stephen Brown. In recent years, cases of stalkers using GPS devices to track their victims have become increasingly common and are now a regular fixture of criminal courts in many places throughout the world. One of the first people to be arrested and tried for it was British concrete firm boss Stephen Brown, who was accused of placing trackers on vehicles belonging to his wife and her illicit lover. He also allegedly hired 2 private investigators to track the clandestine couple. The 51-year-old Surrey-based businessman began to suspect that his wife, Nicola, was having an affair with a firefighter named Mark Compton in 2015. He monitored the pair for 3 months before they discovered the devices on their cars. Brown was questioned by the police, and he and Nicola split for good shortly after he fell under legal scrutiny. An employee of Brown's told the press that the situation was being blown out of proportion and that his boss simply wanted the matter to be done and over with at that point. The worker also mentioned that the affair had been going on for 2 years before Brown was accused of tracking his wife and her paramour. Brown was found guilty of stalking and received a 16-week suspended prison sentence. And while his ex gave a victim impact statement mentioning how the ordeal had made her chronically paranoid and depressed, Brown received far less sympathy for any sort of mental anguish he had suffered as a result of her infidelity. Number 2. Leon Walker. When 33-year-old computer technician Leon Walker began to suspect his estranged wife, Clara, of having an affair with her ex-husband in 2010, he snooped through her emails. He didn't see any wrong in his actions, especially since the tensions in the home were affecting their daughter, not to mention his wife kept her passwords written down in a notebook that sat on the computer desk at all times. In a historic first for the state of Michigan, authorities charged Walker with felony misuse of a computer for going through his wife's emails. The charge can carry up to 5 years in prison. Walker told ABC that he thought the whole situation was outrageous and insane. By then, he and his wife had divorced, but his criminal case was ongoing. Prosecutors accused Walker of illegally hacking into his ex's emails, despite his explanation about how her password was readily available. They claimed that he violated the law by gaining unauthorized access to Clara's password-protected files. Walker's defense attorney, Leon Weiss, argued that the laws being used against his client were meant for protecting trade secrets and credit card data, and that when privacy lines are breached inside a shared home with a shared computer, it's between the individuals involved to work things out. Weiss also pointed out that reading someone's email does not automatically constitute a form of hacking. The judge dropped all charges against Walker when he learned that Clara had read his text messages during the same period when he snooped into her email. After all, fair's fair, and the prosecution admitted that they were unable to meet the burden of proof for the charges being levied against Walker. The case was the first of its kind. Until Walker found himself in court over his snooping, nobody in the state of Michigan had been charged or tried in a similar fashion. It's likely that the landmark ruling will be considered in deciding the outcome of future similar cases. Number 1. Nicholas Wang WEICHOU. Nicholas Wang WEICHOU got tired of arguing with his wife all the time when their marriage became strained in 2020. He installed a spy app on the woman's phone while she was napping at their home in Singapore one day, paid the $80 subscription fee, and began monitoring her activity. During one argument, WEICHOU accused his wife of deliberately revoking his administrator privileges on his company's Facebook page. She insisted it was an accident, but he didn't believe her, so he turned on the app and watched her enter all her passwords in a bid to access her social media accounts. He then changed her passwords. On several occasions, WEICHOU sent the victim nasty and threatening messages, including, "Nobody can help you till you admit what you've done." When the woman saw several posts that she hadn't created appear on her Facebook page, she began to panic. She called some friends to help her figure out what was going on, only to receive an intimidating message telling her not to tell anyone that she was hacked. While it's unclear exactly what WEICHOU suspected his wife of doing and wanted her to admit to, he was clearly convinced that she had done something to betray their marriage. But his handling of the issue was inappropriate, and once the victim realized that her husband was behind the invasion of her privacy, she filed a police report. When he found out that his wife had reported him, WEICHOU threw out the phone that he had used to spy on her with and restored her access to her social media accounts. But he was unable to sneak out from under accountability for his actions, and a court found him guilty of stalking. He was sentenced to 12 days in jail for the stalking charge and 5 months for some unrelated money-lending charges for harassing victims to repay loan sharks. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have your partner discover the last conversation you had with someone when you were angry at them, or go through your partner's phone only to find out that they were planning a romantic proposal and that you had ruined the surprise? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.